Hi everyone, Hira here, and in this video we're going to cover oddball interview questions and how you might go about answering them, or at least trying to react to them in some appropriate way. So these are the kinds of questions that are like, if you were the sole survivor in a plane crash, what would you do? If you had to describe the color yellow to a blind person, how would you describe it? What did you have for breakfast this morning? If you had to instruct somebody to make an omelet, how would you do that? A penguin walks into the room right now wearing a sombrero. What would you say? So super wacky, just totally off the wall and very random. I mean, just among those examples I gave you, you can see how totally random these questions are. So, and you might be wondering why even we need to cover these, and I guess because they seem to be popular with certain really large recruiters, such as Google, Amazon, Facebook. I've also seen them lately from Uber, Airbnb. The plane crash question is from Airbnb. The penguin sombrero one, I think, is from Amazon. So anyway, it's just to be on the safe side, just in case you get one of these little zingers, better to be prepared. As to why recruiters might ask these, I think, and I'm going out on a little bit of a limb here and, kind of brainstorming, but I think the answer is probably twofold. The first reason is purely just to see how you react to just something crazy that's thrown at you, right? So are you someone who can kind of roll with the punches, and can you think on your feet and come up with something? Are you able to stay cool, calm, and collected in situations like that, or do you get flustered or frustrated? So I think the main reason they're asked is just purely just to see whether you can kind of, think on your feet, not get thrown off, and come up with something, number one. Number two, I do think that responses do indicate certain characteristics or personality traits of the candidates. So, I mean, it's not super scientific, and I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with the idea that recruiters should be asking these kinds of questions to test personality traits and character strengths, weaknesses of candidates. But I think part of the reason is that it does sort of provide a little bit of a window into your personality. I've tested a bunch of these questions with students of mine, and it's amazing how different people's minds work differently and the types of responses that they come up with, right? So some people will think of something funny to say. Others will think of sort of a philosophical commentary on life type of response. And then yet others will answer these questions exactly the same way as they would answer any other serious interview question. I mean, that's how their mind functions. They will be very methodical and analytical with their response. And so to me, I mean, it is really interesting from a psychological point of view how different people react differently and come up with totally different answers in terms of the content that they use to answer the question. So let's just take an example. Let's take the plane crash example. What would you do if you were the one survivor in a plane crash? And let's think of some of the ways in which you could answer this, right? So there's that whole bucket of responses, I think, that are in that philosophical commentary on life bucket. So you could say things along the lines of, I was very glad that I was flying solo that day and my family was not with me. I gained a new perspective on life. I realized how fragile life is. I went home, this is actually a response from somebody. I went home and hugged my family. I counted my blessings. I realized that I needed to be grateful for what I have every day of my life, as opposed to just when good things happen. So these are all in that bucket. And then, you could just say something really funny and and go that route. So examples there would be, I would brush myself off and walk to this interview. I would respond with an answer to the interviewer along the lines of, so you're saying that this job requires a lot of flying time? What else does the job require? What are some other aspects? And then my favorite one in the funny category, I would sue the airline manufacturer, and then I would never ever have to answer another interview question like this for the rest of my life. So those are the funnies. And then in the category of the analytical, very rigorous, serious response, I love this one. I have to read this out to you. I would inventory my resources and strategically examine my available best options for rescue and recovery in order to maximize potential outcome, which is survival of myself and closure to families of lost lives. I mean, you know, like I said, I think the person who responds that way versus the one who kind of said, well, I'm going to brush myself off and walk to the interview. I mean, you can see how those are two totally different personalities, and clearly their mind works differently, and under pressure, they react differently, right? So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of why these questions might be asked, even if you're frustrated as to, you know, why recruiters want to stress candidates out even further than they already are by throwing this kind of stuff at them. But hopefully that was helpful, and I'll cover some other examples in separate videos. Okay, thank you for listening.